A major part of the British identity is intertwined with World War II history. We have poppies, keep calm and carry on, Spitfires in public parks, and memorials. Lots and lots of memorials. At the 11th hour, on the 11th day of the 11th month, the armistice was signed, officially ending World War II. Every Remembrance Day, a 2 minute silence is hosted. An honest few minutes of quiet in a very loud world. It's honestly eerie to witness. A faceless voice sounds out over an unseen speaker, demanding silence in the name of an ancient conflict. I never really participated when I was younger. It's more of a opt-in thing nowadays. Go to a specific place at a specific time and a specific date. But I witnessed it once as a child, and I was confused, to say the least. You know, say what you want about British culture, but these government enforced minutes of silence to their job. They make you think about the war. Makes me think about how much I fucking hate Britain. The wars, the royals, and the profiteers. I'm not going to sit here and deny the real heartbreak of the war, of any war, future, past, or present. This video is primarily a review of the zombies mode, but World at War wears its politics on its sleeve, and I'm going to as well. Modern day remembrance is about pomp and pageantry. The UK spending money it doesn't have on televised dog and pony shows, just so we can all watch upper class idiots parade their children around in poppy costumes with one hand, while scalping prices and crushing labour disputes with the other. I like the idea of remembrance. You should never forget. But remembrance isn't about cosplaying as a soldier or donating to the same charities that arms dealers do. It's about community action, voting to prevent future wars, donating food directly to shelters, helping your vets, accommodating them in the workplace, not assuming they're all born killers or they enjoy their job with a wicked malice. That's how you remember. The only way to prevent veterans from dying is by stopping war. How we do that? I don't know. England is in crisis. I'm sure you've heard. These scum have the means to lift us up, to avert poverty, to make sure old folks don't freeze to death in their fucking homes. But they won't. You can only turn a profit from helping the poor if you run the charity. So remember in the best way possible. Not through fetishization or mock pageantry, but through community. The way that matters. My late great granddad was a skipper during World War II. He escorted supply ships around the world, mainly through Antarctica. He continued to serve after the war ended, sweeping mines and keeping the waters safe. His dad was in World War I, the war that was supposed to end all wars. Imagine witnessing a horrifying conflict like that, and knowing someone who experienced it, and then you get drafted. The heroes of the war were also its biggest victims. This kind of thinking, this kind of media dominated my childhood. Back then I thought World War II was cool, I still kind of do. Band of Brothers, Pacific, and Saving Private Ryan on the school TV. They're formative memories, caught up in childish patriotism and military machismo. It was watching my old man playing some COD on the family TV that got me into the gruesome world of history. I witnessed Sergeant Roebuck's demise firsthand, that terrible flamethrower. Naval bombardments, banzai charges, animal abuse, human abuse, all of the lovely nitty-gritty horrors of war. From Semper Fi to Downfall I watched him play. Now, exposing a literal child to this kind of stuff is his own bag of worms, but these memories are still nostalgic, so it probably didn't affect me too much, I think. It was a week or two since the war ended. It was a dark winter's evening. World at War was blasting through the speakers. That was the day I learned what a zombie was. My dad handled himself well, battling through the rounds with a patriarchal ease I admired. Heads and arms and legs flew in a bloodied mist. Nasty gore that I once thought gross now titillates. He brutalized the undead for a while. Round after round went by. My little child brain was very impressed. But imagine a 30-year-old man fighting for his life. And when it was all over, us both thinking round 15 was an impressive feat. Times were so different back then. After he died, he turned to me and offered me a go. What kid would say no? I shuffled closer to the screen and that intro video played. It gave me shivers. Ironically, having more control over my situation made it so much worse. It put me into the game, and I focused on the screen. My recollection of what came next is fuzzy, but I was freaking out every step of the way. I remember struggling at the first barricade, barely understanding how to play. I remember their glowing eyes, their angry faces, details that I had missed as an unimmersed spectator. Getting through the first rounds was easy, even for a kid. I opened up the hell room and grabbed my dad's most used gun off the wall, the Thompson. I was wired. My childish brain almost incapable of dealing with the situation at hand. Boards cracking into the room, zombies screaming like they were right next to me. I felt so alone and isolated. I fought for a few more rounds. My dad's chuckles turned into bouts of laughter as I became more and more irrational. The zombies eventually claimed me. I was only a kid after all. Round 5 max. I just remember kinda screaming. That was my first experience with Call of Duty Zombies. Nacht still makes me afraid. There's something about World at War zombies that awakens the fight or flight in me. One mistake and you're dead meat. Only World at War makes me feel this way. It's laden with post-war depression. This stupid little side mode makes me feel things other than dopamine. Few other games have made me terrified of war. No map emphasizes that more than Nacht. It's old, unrefined. It feels lonely and melancholic. It's limited and therefore grounded. It conceals its cracks with an all too familiar console fog. You can infinitely trap a zombie outside using the windows. The power-ups have number timers. It just screams beta build to me. But even though we can see these decisions being made, it never means that they're wrong, or detracts from the map's charm. I really admire the intelligent use of reused assets and altered architecture. You can't knock working smarter. Working hard but like an idiot is a plain waste of effort. I can only assume the bunker was chosen because of its lack of a use in game. That, and the feeling that a bombed out holdout evokes. They were often the graves of many a general and soldier alike. I barely remember seeing this bunker in the campaign. It's one of those blink and you'll miss it observations. But in this meager first outing, you can see things that'll go on to inform the rest of the zombies formula. First of all, the basic war weapons. One weak and fast, one strong and slow. Can't any hit for life. Then as you progress, you gain stronger and stronger weapons. Kind of a shame that the mystery box is like, right there. It is an entire war's worth of weapons to be used in the sandbox. Some are great, some are bad. Some get you points, some don't. These 4 power-ups will barely change from their first outing. Max ammos trigger that feeling of relief. There's nothing worse than running out of juice, especially when there's no other ways to refill ammo in World at War. Nukes for those close calls or the high rolls that save your game. Kind of fucked that you're dropping nukes in a World War II game though. Insta kills for those easy rounds when you really want to stick to the horde and have your Doomslayer moment. And double points. In Nacht, the points don't matter, but it's still fun to see those plus 20s stream in. And the ray gun. It was the first of its kind. A wondrous weapon that once filled me with relief and joy. Now it just makes me feel whelmed. It's been recycled and reused to such an extent that I feel nothing when I get the ray gun. I've been rolling it from the box since I was 10 years old. Honestly, I never really liked it in the first place. It feels a lot weaker compared to the more contemporary wonder weapons. It just shoots an exploding projectile. A projectile that can also kill you. Compared to the Thunder Gun or Wunderwaffe, it just kind of falls short. It's Nacht's only wonder weapon. I would personally call the flamethrower the second wonder weapon in World at War, but I don't think we're ready for that conversation yet. But I really had little choice when trying to go a bit further than round 15. I started off hating it, but it kind of grew on me as the rounds passed, saving me more times than I can count. It might not be stronger than a die machine or as engaging as the elemental staffs, but it's been implemented to do a job, and like everything in Nacht, it's pretty solid. So thank you, Porter. Whoever you are, you're a real one. Nacht is the epitome of a tech demo. Its only themes are World War II and zombie, and the Hell Room is its only world building. But it doesn't do anything more than it needs to. The World at War Undead, whilst not at all physically gruesome, sound horrifying. And it's these sounds that kept me wired throughout my childhood. These zombies are resurrected German soldiers, reused models from the campaign. It's eerie coming to Nacht after spending time playing World at War's story. You just won, defeated the Reich. You witnessed the horrors of war and killed thousands of sons and fathers. Now they're back, here for revenge. Forced to fight, woefully under-equipped, they hurl their bodies at the barricade, fighting for their captors. I can't help but see a similarity to the war itself. Millions lost their lives in pursuit of a goal so far above their understanding, played by the machinations of their political betters. No matter what side you're on, the draft was real. You don't get a choice. This map's core weakness eventually became its leading strength, becoming a part of the classic era. An idea that appears in every fandom, either as an exploration of its history or as a nostalgic black hole for a game far past its prime. I don't really like the map myself, but I don't think that's a controversial opinion. From what I've seen, people enjoy it for its novelty, its simplicity, and its nostalgia, but acknowledge its glaring shortcomings, like zero progression or a lack of gameplay variety. I'm sure a lot of people don't think these are issues. It's that simple feeling people come to this map to have. But I want to feel accomplished after a play session. Doing high rounds on Nacht just doesn't do it for me. Not every experience can be ranked on a scale. Nacht's a fun, short peek into zombies' history. It just has a limited scope and little replayability. But it's fun nonetheless. If you look hard, you can see how the game was made. The reason they put each power up in, the inclusion of the ray gun, the wardrobe sniper that totally seemed like a good idea at the time but was actually awful. It shows a dedication to the craft. I wonder what it would have been like if they went indie and published it themselves. Maybe they'd be millionaires right now. Maybe not. We look back now with blurry eyes, blinded by nostalgia. But what's the difference between enjoying a product because it's good versus enjoying it because it allows you to relive vicarious memories? Both make you feel engaged and happy. Objectivity in art is a pointless force. People love this map. People love transit. Nostalgia usually wins, at least on a personal level, because you can use nostalgia to excuse flaws, but you can't use flaws to excuse nostalgia. Nacht is exceedingly difficult to review. It doesn't have any room for a grand hypothesis or an hour-long analysis. I've been trying to make the video longer as I write, but it's just not happening. There's nothing to critique. Anything that I could stretch for would be disingenuous, and there's not much to compliment either. It's as basic as it comes. Compared to our new standard, Nacht isn't offensive, but it isn't amazing either. But you can't get too critical. It's like tearing down someone's first project. Sure, it might be bad or limited, but there's so much beauty in looking back at your first works and seeing the flaws with your new age understanding. Then looking back at your latest works and being proud of how far you've come. It's like playing a student's first video game. It's rough in every possible way, but that's what makes it fun. It's like being a part of history. Nacht wasn't designed to be the progenitor of a massive franchise. Imagine if it came out nowadays. It would die on release. Our standards are so much higher now, unfortunately. Zombies just wasn't designed to be as big as it became.